Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story, where each weekday we tackle a single relevant question based on our Bible reading for that day. This week our reading is centered around the book of Philemon, and today I'm joined by Alyssa Bream and Sheryl Daughety, and our reading was verses 17 through 19 of Philemon. And he says, "So if you consider me your partner, welcome him as you would welcome me. If he has wronged you in any way or owes you anything, charge it to me. I, Paul, write this with my own hand. I will repay it, and I won't mention that you owe me your very soul." Paul puts himself on the line here. He says, if he owes anything, I'm going to cover it. He also says, I'm not going to mention, even though I am mentioning.
See, I told you on the first day of the podcast, he lays it on really thick, yeah. And
you owe me your very soul, but I'm not going to mention that.
I could tell you Jesus told me to tell you this, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, that's right. But it's just it's interesting how he writes it. But what are the dangers of putting ourselves on the line for other people? I don't know if y'all have ever done that, where you've gone to bat for somebody, and maybe they made the most of it. I could think of a few times where that has happened. There have been some other times where I've put myself on the line for people that they utterly disappointed me. So what are some of the dangers of putting yourself on the line for people?
I think you just said one of them, that you're just going to get horribly disappointed.
Like how? So in the situations I'm thinking about, usually have been around jobs or opportunities. Mm-hmm. And there have been times, like I said, I can give you a really recent example where I was trying to help somebody get a job, and they got a job and they exceeded the expectations of the people where they went to work, got a raise within 30 days. You know, the people are thrilled that they're there. There have been other times where I've, in similar situations, and the people just were utterly, horribly disappointing. You know, they didn't show up for work, didn't work hard when they got there, dropped the ball multiple ways, did something really stupid, and those are the things. It makes you gun shy. It hasn't stopped me from going to bat for people, but it does make me gun shy to a certain degree. Can y'all think of any specific ways where maybe you've been let down or disappointed when you went to bat for somebody?
Yeah, I was in a situation like that pretty recently where somebody had asked for suggestions on a person that they were looking to hire, and then kind of asked for a reference on a particular person that they were hiring, that I was associated with through the church. And, I was upfront about a lot of things, but also tried to make sure that I concentrated on a lot of the positive things that I saw about that person, that I really did think if they put forth the effort and did the best I knew that they could do from experience, then they would be a good employee, especially at that job. But they went out in a blaze of glory. And I apologized and said, I feel responsible for the fact that you decided to hire this person, but I hate that it turned out this way, because I think we were both giving that person the benefit of the doubt and really wanting something good for them, but they chose otherwise.
And when it comes to job references and things like that, I kind of am entering more into that phase of my life where more people are kind of, occasionally asking, hey, can I use you as a reference or whatever? And the hard part for me is that I internally hold myself to a very high standard that I don't ever meet, which, yeah, we can talk about that in therapy. But so then when I'm trying to tell the truth about someone else, but also put them in a good light because, hey, I think, they deserve a chance. I think they're, generally a good person. That's kind of where that hard thing is for me. So I haven't been specifically burned in any of those situations yet. There's been enough distance that it's not like come back to me. I don't have enough friends that are like high dollar employers that they're asking me for references and things like that. So,
well, sometimes minor references, but in my role, sometimes they're just trying to get people back on their feet or start a
Right.
life, or they've had a bad situation, and it is extremely rewarding when they fulfill their obligations or exceed the expectations, but it's extremely disappointing. And the most frustrating times for me are when they continue to come back after they have dropped the ball multiple times and think I'm going to bat for them, again. When it comes to job references, I would guess no less than one a month am I asked to be a reference for a job. No less than one a month. And some of them are pretty serious, so I think sometime recently on a podcast I mentioned the fact that federal government jobs that require security clearances, sometimes I'll be asked for those, and without fail, I'll be interviewed 2 or 3 times and end up with 2 or 3 questionnaires. So what I would say is sometimes it's inconvenient, so I've had multiple employees at Harvey Point where I was asked to be a reference, and federal agents will visit a minimum of twice your home to talk to you if you're one of the main references. Plus, you get questionnaires you have to fill out. So you can count on several hours of your time being taken, so that you can benefit somebody. Most of the time, though, that works out pretty good. The most common place where it takes time is to be a teacher. So most school systems have some kind of reference form that you fill out online that you have to do. So it is, one of the costs of it is it takes time to go to bat for people. One of the other costs is that it can affect your own personal credibility, So if I go to bat for somebody and then they fail, it affects my relationship with the person that I gave the good report to. You mentioned that's tricky being a reference. I recall somebody asking me to be a reference, which shocked that they would ask me, because I thought, golly, I am going to have to search for something good to say. It was that kind of situation. And another challenge that I would identify when it comes to that is being ethical. Because one of the easy ways out is, well, they didn't ask that specific question, so I don't have to disclose that. They didn't ask whatever the question might be, about, they could have asked about their morality, their leadership capability, their work ethic, whatever. But I also know that sometimes my credibility is on the line. And so if I know of a particular problem that I don't address, I feel like it's my credibility that's being affected, whether they get the job or not, and so it becomes a balancing act. When it comes to money, obligating ourselves for other people can be painful. I have learned in my lifetime, though, I would rather give it than loan it. I try to loan nothing because
because most of the time it ends up being a gift anyway.
Well, it ends up being a gift, or it becomes a challenge and it puts a strain on the relationship. If I can, there's lots of writing. My dad was the first person I heard say anything like this, but there's lots of psychological writing about this. But my dad would say it like this, and I think it was his father that said it. He said, settle your accounts every day. Don't go to bed with unsettled accounts. And what they mean by that was at the end of the day, you have to reconcile every situation. Don't wake up tomorrow with an unreconciled situation. The Bible would say something similar to don't let the sun go down while you're angry, because unreconciled anger creates a problem. And so if you have issues with people, the sooner you can resolve it, the better. Sometimes it's not always easy to reconcile that day, but if I give people money instead of loaning people money, or whatever the case may be, I can reconcile it at the end of the day. And I was in the bank recently, and there were other customers in there that I knew, and we got in a conversation. And one of the people said, the older I get, the more I say no. And my rule is, if I'm going to walk away and grumble about saying yes, I should just say no on the front side. They'll feel better and I'll feel better. But if I say yes, they're going to know I didn't want to do it, and I'm going to walk away grumbling doing it. And I don't know if any of us are perfect at being able to say no most of the time, but I do think that putting ourselves on the line for people can be painful. It just is painful.
I do think that what Paul is doing here, I like it that he's not making any promises about Onesimus's behavior when he comes back, that Onesimus will be a perfect slave. You know what I mean? Paul's just saying, you know what? I'm going to take on the burden. If there's anything I need to do to help make this right, I'll do it. And he's not really making any promises that Onesimus is going to have to keep.
Well, he does say in the previous, a couple of days ago, that I believe he's going to be a benefit to you.
Right.
But what he's trying to do is get him to start from zero. And if he can, hope he stands on his own 2 feet. He doesn't want to have to make up what maybe the cost was, Well, thank you for joining us today on this edition of One Single Story. We hope you'll be back with us tomorrow as we continue our conversation around the book of Philemon.